uncertainty, isolation, and supernatural. The three core like fundamental things that make horror different from a thriller or an adventure movie, I guess. Um, and so that's one of the things in the early parts of the campaign. It's a lot of just learning the setting and getting used to what things are there, how they can appear in variants, and I think a big repeating theme is these weird monsters you're finding repeating in variants where some of them act differently than others, but they all share some core traits. Um, yeah, I don't know. We're
We just
actually
do
live yet.
episode 8 or 9.
I think it's 9.
We'll call it 9.
Oh, 9. I'll know when I edit it.
Yeah. Bring me if I'm wrong.
And with that, welcome to Under the Table. This is a post-game talk show where we discuss all things related to the RPG or TTRPG at large. Currently, Strange Town Golden Ridge Adventure 3, Episode 9. I have with me Daisy, the voice and portrayal of Dr. Iris Forsyth. Myself, I play the character called the Kingsman, and down there somewhere, if you can find him, is our storyteller named Mr. Pickles. So we're kicking off this episode talking about kind of how the genre was based, and it's based on I almost said insecurities. That's not true. Well, that might be, but uncertainty was one of the pillar factors in what were we talking about? We were talking about how
Horror?
no, we were talking about Daisy was like asking me, did you come into the session with any questions or anything? And I was like, well, I never know what to ask. I never know what to say, and da da da. And I was like, actually, that kind of falls in with the whole uncertainty aspect we were talking about in during some discussions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. As I was like saying, I mean that's the genre defining like pillars. You have uncertainty and the supernatural and isolation as the three things that make a horror genre. You change any of those, you start to dip into other genres. You take away the supernatural, well, that's just a thriller. Um, and yeah, so part of the 7 adventure campaign I'm running is that the first few adventures you're going to be running across a lot of the base elements. You're getting used to the town, the countryside, where things are. You know there's a university that you guys like to break in sometimes and use normally other times. There's a casino. You have a lay of the land. You found these monsters that are prominent, apparently in this area only, in France maybe one time. Um, that live underground and they have variants. Some of them are very, very hostile, especially the wild ones you found in the first adventure. Those monsters were very hostile.
Yeah.
In the second adventure, the others seemed very, very hostile and cooperating with perhaps brainwashed squirrels. It was a weird
some
situation.
Did, some didn't. Because like the ones that came across Verde in the woods puking into the squirrel bar didn't do anything to them. They were left them alone.
Oh gosh. Okay, so that's the question. Let's stop it right there on the vomit monsters. I called them belchers because I thought that was a better name than vomit monster.
Yeah,
and I like the idea that they'd be just belching on whatever they ate would just be turning to alcohol in their belly, and then eventually they'd just vomit it up when they got all the nutrients. Instead of having like a traditional GI tract, they just literally ferment stuff in their body that they eat very rapidly and then spray it somewhere convenient. And I was like, if they have like alignment perhaps with trying to fill something, like liking the idea of a pond or a river, then they'd try and like fill up a hollowed out stump or something. And that's where that tradition would come from. But yeah, having it in the second adventure and then in the third adventure is a little bit of foreshadowing from your storyteller, Mr. P. I guess I'm just curious how you guys felt about that. One of you coming from that situation, and then Daisy, of course, you being the other coming from not having that foreshadowing.
Well, she watched all the episodes. She at least got to see it, but
That's fair, actually.
I thought it was cool. I didn't interact with them in the woods, so it wasn't as big for me, but I thought it was cool that Verde went down and was like, cool. You're one of the same ones I saw before, but getting to see it mutated and changed, I think there's a lot of questions there and stuff that I'm not personally connected to it, but me as a player, I'm like, I would love to know more about what happened there and like why. Absolutely. So I think tying that in was a great play on your part. Hopefully we don't get to hear from Fred, unfortunately, but hopefully Fred felt that as well, because I did, and I wasn't even connected to it. But that also shows, I mean, with Eddie? Doesn't seem right.
Mm-hmm.
It is
right.
Eddie?
Yes.
Eddie
Newsom.
Newsom, thank you. With Eddie Newsom, like I chose to go into the basement, and everything I found down there was connected to Verde. I was like, maybe Verde should have taken the basement. But
You can't predict that, and you can't change that. Like as a storyteller,
no,
like that's one of those things.
The monsters.
Oh no, they were keeping them upstairs.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But I think it's fine because us as a party, we relayed the information. I was like, hey, your guy's downstairs. Also, there's the monster. You need to go check it out, blah, blah, blah. And so he was able to get down there and interact with it and still get, all that story. So it ended up working out. The alien monster things are a whole thing. Like, that's one thing that I'm trying to piece together. Like, when I originally, like, my entire character was based off hunting these things because they're evil. And now these people are like, you're murdering innocents. And I'm like, I might be. I don't know anymore. Like, I'm genuinely conflicted here.
I agree. It's very
that was a bold move on me. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it was great. It was like heart-wrenching.
Yeah, I'm sitting there like, dude, like, ooh, they're just innocents and all this. And I'm like, there's 3 of them dead right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. I thought they were gonna kill me. They ripped open Verde at one point. I don't know.
Those ones you found in the wild, in a sewer.
They're all the same to me.
Yeah, but you found a difference now.
Yeah, now I'm saying
those raised in a sewer acted like wild animals.
So it's like docile dogs versus mangy dogs?
Perhaps. This kind of campaign where you will find out more, and
you keep saying that.
we're on adventure 3 out of 7, and I like to think of when I did my 20 adventure traveler campaign that failed because that's an insane amount of adventures, and it was just a high pressure psychopath campaign, and I made it too hard, and I made it psychopathically hard.
And
it was a compounding error. Anyways, yeah, I intended for like the first 10 to be your introduction, like you're kicking ass and starting to figure things out, and then the last 10 are like, okay, now that you're a well-oiled machine, it's time to actually have things that are a little bit difficult, where you need to think things through. And for this campaign, I've made that the first 3. The case of the bloody cat. I mean, you didn't have that many monsters, and you only had like 1 enemy that would attack you on the streets. But you guys handled it well. You did split up at that point. That's a callback to splitting up the
unaired episode. You guys will never know.
Yeah. Yeah, like that could have easily gone wrong if you hadn't had a comrade with you. When the guy came out with the baseball bat, like I bought you a little bit of like shaken if you didn't have Aaron Kelly.
Yeah,
and as a charismatic character, that makes sense.
In the first adventure, I got beat the fuck up by a guy with a baseball bat, and I was just getting beaten senseless, and I couldn't do a fucking thing because I kept rolling, and I would get unshaken, and then he would hit me again, and I'd become shaken. And basically, the way
he wasn't doing damage.
Yeah, he was just
making you shaken.
So he's just stun locking me, is what it was. I was just stun locked. I couldn't do anything. And thankfully, I had an NPC who came up and like distracted me, like kicked him or something, so I could get out of it and stop getting stun locked.
Yeah, no, he shoved him. He went for a shove that couldn't do damage.
That was basically the entire thing. Was he came out, just started stun locking me with a baseball bat, and I was just like, "Fuck!" Don't split the party.
But yeah. Where were we going with that? Sidetracked.
Monsters, good and bad.
Yeah, so in that adventure the monsters were bad, and I've said, oh yeah, no, we're going over So I was saying that the first three adventures are very much set up that if you work together, generally you can solve the problems. There weren't that many monsters; you were able to handle them in the first adventure. Second adventure, I miscalculated, and I think I admit that many times in the end of the table. Just crying a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. But I freaked the party out with that like raid of squirrels. You guys were like, nope, we got to get out of here.
Basically, yeah.
Can't kill 1,000 squirrels. And that's fair. But
Yeah, I think it
my
was
goal
like
is
we need to hold out, and I was like, there are thousands of squirrels. We can't cover everything. Like, we will die.
that's one of those adventures where the core clue that I should have made a bit easier, but I decided to go esoteric was that you could figure out by the music sheets that they got when like there would be a certain rise in the music where something is supposed to happen music narratively wise. So the party would then be able to deduce how long they have until something is supposed to change in the song. And then
What
I
I
was
got
like,
from the
okay, so
music
the
notes was someone was controlling them. There's some puppeteer out there that is,
failed your
at
fucking
large.
common knowledge rolls. Pretty sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't have Daisy there to guide us.
Yeah. No, it's okay. That's actually my bad in writing. Is you want your players to get the proper clues, but in that case, it just didn't work out. And the third adventure, I also think, is that there wasn't that big of a threat because you guys maybe it was luck, maybe it was just whatever. But it's like I wanted to make it harder for you guys to go there if you went at night because there are large things in the woods, and that guy was lying to you constantly. You said you'd only give him one lie, but he lied the frick to you.
I couldn't do anything about it.
Can I want to ask you a question though, right here.
That made me mad.
Um, and I want to ask Daisy as well, but I want to ask Wrath first. So you shot him, or somebody shot him in the leg. It might have been Verda. It was you. Okay, yeah. Uh, you shot him, and he clearly reflected it off. He didn't take damage from it. But he didn't stand up and then be like, "Yeah, you know what? Can't take damage." Push like putting his hand on your chest, just shove.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do that. Why? Shouldn't he have like gotten up and been like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna kick your freaking ass."
I don't know. I mean, there's still. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, my girls.
No, it's just it's one of those things where I threw it out there. Is what what if you shoot him again? Is it just a
You were
one
really
off?
trying to get him to shoot him again, too.
Well, that's a different thing, but
We'll get into that because I have thoughts on that whole situation too. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wanted to be there. Maybe he didn't want to run away. He was getting information from us, so it was like a reverse interrogation. I don't.
that's actually a fair point. Reverse interrogation.
Yeah,
If he thought he was going to get out of there alive, which I'm pretty sure he did,
yeah, he could have just left. And what are we gonna do? Shoot him? It didn't do anything. So
he would know more about you.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna stick
No,
around.
that is a good fair point. I didn't think of that.
That was my first thought. I don't know. What are your thoughts before I move on to the whole shooting him thing?
Well, the thing I noticed and paid attention to most is that it's a blood sigil. It's not necessarily like a wound sigil or like a I can't feel pain sigil.
Agreed. That's
And
why I was doing the whole oven
you,
thing. I was like,
yeah,
if he pops out a bullet, I mean, he can still probably get burned.
I was also trying to think at the time, like, has Kingsman been hurt since getting the ring? And I couldn't recall a time, so I could compare the two.
He's never
But
been hurt in
Yeah,
his
Yeah.
entire life.
Yeah.
not at all, never.
At least in the campaign is what I
Yeah.
actually meant.
Yeah, I haven't
like
actually taken. I've been beaten with a baseball bat, but only to the point of being shaken. Verde got injured against the initial fight with the Ferrer down in the sewers.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the initial fight. You guys shot them. It wasn't really a fight
True.
because they were fleeing, and you were just like bam, 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 bam. They're all dead, and I was like, well, shit.
One.
These are my monsters,
We
guys.
killed one with like 40 bullets. Not really. It was like 10, but
Yeah.
we were both like.
You guys,
Jeez.
um, and then you went down into a pit, and yeah, you saved Verde there because he started to get overwhelmed.
Say that louder for the people in the back, because I don't think that was
Oh,
appreciated.
sorry. You in Adventure 1, the unaired episode, you saved Verde in
Thank you.
the basement sewers by shooting off a monster and
You're welcome.
like giving him some space to then grab his own gun and shoot, even though he's wounded. And now I believe he's taken the edge. Actually, I'm going to say this a little bit back here.
I appreciate
He's
it.
taken the edge to make it so when he does take wounds, he doesn't take wound penalties as much.
Hmm.
I think it reduces like 1 point. So if he takes a wound, he doesn't get any wound penalties to all of his skills.
That's nice.
And so I think you can get an upgrade, but I think he's expecting to get injured now.
He's like, I'm never letting that happen again. Yeah, because I remember he got injured and it brought down all his stats. He was getting like a -2 to everything he did or something.
-1 per wound point, and he had 1 wound, so he wasn't too critically injured, but he was starting to get there.
Yeah, so as for shooting him, I I shot him in the knee. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna I was originally just gonna walk up there and shoot him in the head. Like, oh, you got one. But then I was like, well, I want to get information. Maybe just use the scare tactic, shoot him in the knee.
Right.
I can still try and be the persuasion guy. So I did that. Obviously, that didn't go according to plan. It just backfired in my face. But then at that point, I was just like, similar to Craig Hall. I was like, this guy's out of my league. Like, more powerful than me. I'm gonna kind of back off now. But then I thought it was interesting that my two comrades, the police and the doctor, are like, put the shotgun in his mouth, blow his head off, let's shoot him in the face. And I was just like, you're a police officer and a doctor. And then he goes to her and he's like, you don't seem as psychotic killer as them. And I was like, she just told him to put a shotgun in your mouth and blow your head off. Like, how am I the psychotic one?
Look, I've never seen Rob Zombie's Firefly trilogy, where it's like Devil's Rejects and 2 others, where it's about 3 psychotic killers who just go massacring people at their houses and everything. I'm not a big Rob Zombie fan.
Not saying.
For specific reasons, but my point being that it is sort of fitting for like 3 psychopaths who would be raiding houses to have 2 of them be like, okay, look, I know you're not as crazy Eddie over there, but
you're not as crazy. That's fair.
We're all psychopaths, and you're the least psychopathic one here. I have to have a lesser psychopath conversation.
You did bring up a good point when you were like, I think we were talking about like the law or something when it comes into it, and it was like, we really did just break into this person's home and start shooting people and stuff. Like, I don't think we're the good guys in this situation.
You had an address. You had an address that was written on paper.
That's what it was. We were like, why were we here again? Oh, we just had an address written on paper. And we just came in here and started killing people and shooting. We're really not the good guys, are we?
Yeah, but these monster things shouldn't exist. And that's the question here. Like, I feel like that should be that ever-present question for you guys. Like, okay, yeah, they're treating them as children, but you can treat, like, demon spawn as children, and they grow up to be monsters that massacre the world. This could be the devil incarnate in like a weird clay flesh that just needs to age like
I think another problem there is we're supposed to be investigators, not killers. Kind of leaning more the killer route, like I was hunting them down, not investigating. And that's probably on me. That's a problem with my character.
That's an assumption.
The other part is both of our backstories, Iris's and Kingsman, are linked to these monster things taking people, or we assume the monster people were taking people, and there's missing people. We both have people who are missing. We're mad at the monsters, so we're not on their side and giving them the benefit of the doubt until now. So I think that really played against the story in the fact of, hey, just investigate them, and we're like, shoot in the face.
You're assuming I don't want you guys to kill monsters. I mean, this adventure here should have put that, like, into doubt,
yeah.
obviously.
I was
I
like,
wanna just take a
kind of
step
seemed
back.
like it was
No,
supposed
you
to.
had every right to pump the brakes, but, I don't know, maybe I took a little inspiration from The Omen here, that evil things can come in cute packages, I guess. Um, and I don't know. I wanna give you guys a little spoiler because there's no way you'd ever know otherwise. So you remember that little piece of shit upstairs? He's smirking
Edward?
at you from his bed.
Hmm.
Is it Edward?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, the little goblin creature that was in the bed. You went upstairs.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
every other room was
I think
empty. It was
he's
just him.
Edward. Something like that.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, the only one who could speak. Yeah. So he's the smartest of them. He had the security remote. He activated the security, threw it out the window, and then sat there smugly on his bed.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, what a piece of shit, right? And he smirked at you guys, and you're like, okay. And it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect though. Is opening a door, seeing that piece of shit, Humpty Dumpty from like the 1930 something Alice in Wonderland movie, just close up. Like looking at that face is like, no, I don't want to deal with this.
Thank God the
Uh,
mimes came, because I was like, we're stuck here until the security system gets turned off, and we have no way to turn it off. It's off site, so that's why I just sat down on the kitchen counter and I was like, unless we dig a hole out of here, we're stuck here. Like, we live here now.
yeah, AM 180s, they'll just burn right through you.
Yeah,
And that was
and
an
then that guy
inspiration
was super
from Reddit.
powered, so he wasn't gonna help us, and I was just like, I don't see a way out of this. Thank God the mimes didn't just walk into an ambush and die immediately like I expected them to do.
Hmm.
I mean, they're martyrs, but they're not like suicidal.
They
Well,
did.
no,
They
I'll take
handled
that
that
back.
situation great for some reason, so maybe they're only good against electronics and tech.
You called the right people on the right phone. I mean, I
Nice.
can't blame you guys for using the clues I've given correctly. Like, yeah, you can call the mimes on that knife.
That's just kind of our get out of jail card, like our one lifeline. Don't know what to do. Call mimes. That's like our one like last ditch effort.
Something that came up in the last game though was that you guys called Verde out on saying he's done with mimes, but then he calls the mimes.
Yeah, she did. It was all
Hmm.
Daisy.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot who said that, but I mean, that's something that's sort of interesting to me because I hear that and I'm like, as a writer, I have my own reasons to have mimes and whatnot going on.
Hmm.
But as players, how are you guys viewing that situation? And yeah, I guess sort of a general question of what was around that situation.
Well, I remember the previous session, he was very, very upset about the mimes. So I was kind of shocked that so willing. I was like, okay, you know what, that will help. So I can't tell you no to do your own thing. Um, I
And he has
definitely
been
think,
chosen by mimes,
yeah.
so it's sort of like almost a denial of himself if he refuses
Hmm.
to use their help.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, maybe that was a dead end street there. Yeah,
No, I mean,
like you
I'm
don't have
just
a lot to go
thinking.
with.
I'm just thinking. I mean, Verde. I mean, he's even admitted that his character is coming a little unhinged. And I would agree. Like going. I mean, just watching a cop like shoot someone in the woods. I brought that up a couple times, and like him sticking the shotgun in the guy's mouth and stuff. I'm just sitting here like, you're supposed to be the good one. Like,
He,
when we started the whole thing, like I was the chaotic one, he was the good one, and there was that balance. Except now he's more chaotic than Kingsman,
that's
and
intentional.
Even Kingsman's sitting here looking at him going, "You're scaring me, bro."
That is intentional. He's talked with me about a specific character arc, which I'm not going to spoil for you here under the table. You can spoil other things, but not this. He's got a specific character arc that he wants to explore, and it's a little on the scary end, given that he was very lawful and reserved initially. But I think it'll be interesting given the things that nobody could possibly know about my nonsense campaign here.
It did
And
kind of make sense
yeah,
because it felt like there was a twist after he got attacked by the Trayer in the sewer
the
system.
first, yeah,
I think after that is when I started seeing him like. Well, no, I guess because during the second adventure he wasn't like crazy, so I guess it'd be after the squirrel attack is when he become a lot more unhinged, really hitting adventure 3.
and I think in Adventure 2, you saw him under a lot of unpressured situations initially.
Mhm.
Like you guys were shooting at stuff and drinking beers and
You're
having a
welcome.
good time. He was trying to relax, but I believe his wording was that he's very, very much under pressure and just trying to relax. And as a storyteller, when I wrote that, I was like, okay, I'm going to give them a bunch of different areas. They can go to the lake, they can go to the woods, they can go to the nearby cabin. If they're a charismatic character, they can just like stay where they are and like use the home's hearth of fire to emblazon their spirits. Do some campfire shit. Um, and yeah, no, I got a very different vibe from Fred with I just want to sit here and relax and enjoy my beer and shooting some stuff. I'm not going over there. I'm not talking to people. I'm not exploring the goddamn woods. Went out there a little bit. Fuck that. And you guys went right back, and I'm like, I made everything in like fours. Like you have 4 adventures in the forest. You got that squirrel bar. That's a little messed up. Got the dead mime in the woods. She's not dead. She's just bleeding. And you saved her. But yeah, it was a very interesting moment, I guess, for me as a storyteller, trying to write things properly. That adventure, and um,
You're off track. Verde going
I'm
unhinged.
so off track. Yeah, I think Verde went unhinged.
I was watching it. I was watching the trail go.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, I was going somewhere. No, I
Ear
think
to hear, and
he
you're like,
got he got unhinged at like adventure 1 when he got bitten and was like, "Oh shoot, I am actually immortal. This system is not favorable if you get injured.
yeah,
Like once you actually take a real wound rather than being shaken from a baseball bat to the face, it gets really dangerous real quick." And I think he became a little bit more unhinged at that point, but there was so much padding of like relaxation and not really that many threats for a while. Well, a hanged mime, but that was bad, but it was fine. Um, yeah, I think Adventure 3 is when the pressure really came on to him, and his unhingement became more apparent. He was dealing with some stuff, and he might have snapped.
yeah. Because I think it's definitely almost adding to pushing Kingsman to be more put together because he's like, I mean, just as a character, I'm watching Verde and I'm going, "You good, man?" Like, do we need to talk?
Do you need your fridge back?
Yeah. Put your couch cushions back. I'm
Dude,
sorry.
I could stop stealing from you if it's
Yeah.
really doing that.
I think, yeah, I think that stuff will probably stop. I think Kingsman's moving more towards a way more put together character. Like I feel like it's affecting both of us differently. It's making me narrow in on what's important instead of just living this carefree life. It's like, oh, I need to be ready, and be good for this stuff. So I think Kingsman's kind of going that route, and I think Verde is going more the fuck this shit.
Yes.
And Iris is just like, no,
You're brand new to
holding it
this.
together.
Crying.
Well, Detective Verde and Kingsman's relationship is often like the tenuous bond of this campaign. And as the third player there, I often wonder how like you feel with the relationship and how you're able to try and prevent them from coming at each other aggressively.
It's hard not to get pulled into either one of their orbits, especially because Iris is so impulsive. Um, and because Kingsman is like closer in age and they're like similar because of their impulsiveness, it's easy to just kind of go full silly chaotic with Kingsman. But I think after the previous session when we covered that, Verde actually feels guilt for not looking into her parents and he's not just like, whoops, I didn't know. It's more of like my rage for the police has disappeared. And now I'm kind of willing to push myself into the relationship between them and make sure that they don't try and kill each other because there's already enough things trying to kill us.
I mean, essentially, that is the only group of people that seem to be doing anything in this little town.
Which group?
Cops aren't doing shit.
Which group?
What?
Do?
Yeah, you guys, the three of you.
Oh, okay. So I was like, there ain't no other group doing anything.
No, it's just the three of you. The three of you are the only ones interested. Oh, there's a keycap.
Talking to the mimes though, at the end of the session, at the end of the session, I was talking about the mimes and them saying, "No, the true are bad. We're after them." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what I was doing. Was I right? Because these things don't look evil. Like that's where I think was maybe good to see that I wasn't totally wrong, but I still have questions, and I still don't even know if the mimes are on the right side. I've brought that up a couple times, so
There's that doubt with the mimes, and I think it's because you don't know enough of each faction's like actual moral standing. Um, the librarians talk to you a bit, and you haven't interacted with the Chosen of Flame, but you've interacted with the mimes, of course, and they both have different approaches. And you've seen a few stragglers in between, people who have different perspectives on how you succeed at this war. Like the librarians and the mimes, I feel are like the most polar opposite. So the mimes say just go blindly and solve whatever you can, or if your buddy calls you up on the phone and says we have a tech problem, send the tech crew out there. You know, like the blind response force is different from the tech force, um, and the librarians are much different. They're just more of that. If you are seeing that something's happened, we'll go afterwards and gather clues, piece together what's happened without any risk. Sort of a reactionary. So they have different approaches, and of course, the librarian's not going to save you in a fight. They'll
no,
come and
yeah,
document that you died.
yeah, yeah. That's one thing I learned. Like the librarians just watch; they're not actually doing anything. I was like, okay, cool. We don't know fuck all about the Chosen of Flame, except I found 2 burn holes. I know I found 2.
Yeah, it was
I can't
the
remember where the
truck of
first one
mines that was
was.
burned, and it was the hole in the forest that was burned.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But
Yeah.
I think you've gained a little bit of information about the girl in the purple coat.
Maybe?
Maybe not.
Are you regarding
Uh,
her spirit things as demons? That she might be a demon?
I'm trying to remember what I've actually shared.
I think Craig Hall talked to Verde about that a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I've shared the clue. I was assuming you guys knew. Yeah. It's definitely been a departure from my previous campaigns of calling anything that's supernatural a god. Some people are calling them demons now, or these things demons at least. Powerful beings granting wishes. I kind of wish Fred had stuck around and that he'd given them the alcohol because I had more clues to give,
Listen,
more
I'm
information to
sorry.
share. Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm not blaming you. It's one of those moments as a writer where I'm like, well, okay, we'll bring the clue back around later. We'll bring the clue back around. We'll get that eventually, under the right circumstances. I'm not sure how. I'll give him my card. Yeah, that'll work. But The big thing I wanted you guys to learn this episode was that the sigils are definitely a connection with something other than just it being a tattoo. It's some source outside of yourself granting
Right.
you that power.
Mhm.
Yes, and that's where I found out that the sigils were granted by demons by doing them a favor. But then I was like, well, mine wasn't, so there's something else behind it. But if it was given to me from the lake, from like something else at play. Just as much as there's someone controlling the squirrel things, there's something with the sigils, there's the blue coat guy, there's the smushed thumbprint guy, like there's just I think Verde and I talked about this at one end of the table. There's just so many factions at play that it's like, who do we need to worry about? Who's important? Librarians? Okay, no. Chosen Flame, don't know shit about them. We need to. There's too much. Kind of narrow in.
And something you picked up on with Levi Yuskoski, the guy you held hostage for most of the episode. Um, he was lying to you. I gave you the first lie for free, of
Mhm.
course, and I think you picked up many times then when I lied afterwards, or at least had enough suspicion to say, "I don't think you're telling the truth."
I picked up one more and then couldn't do anything about it, and that's when I was like, well, okay, never mind.
Yeah, he was telling you some things like saying that the alarm system's in the basement, and as I've told you now, is that's a direct lie because it was upstairs. He had one of those things that was trained to trigger the alarm, make
Right.
it so. Yeah, drag him out there. Drag him out there. He'll take some bullets, and so will you.
Well, I mean, he just spit out a bullet, so he could be telling the truth. I wasn't willing to risk it.
Yeah, and that's the uncertainty there is you can make a decision either way, and that leads down a different narrative. I think you guys played very cautious here.
It all comes
Um,
back to uncertainty.
and yeah, you haven't had a chance to test as much that I'd like with your sigil. So all you know is one thing that it does.
That's the other thing that I was talking about. Like when we originally got this, like I got the sigil, but he didn't. He'd gotten his knife, but he hadn't touched it at all. And so like my sigil was more prominent. Except my sigil hasn't done shit since then. He's used his knife multiple times, really just as a phone to call mimes. Probably a bunch of other things he could do with it that he hasn't. But I'm sitting here like,
You're
dude,
telling me.
I'm like, dude, you have a power that you can do all kinds of stuff with, and you're not doing anything with it. I have one thing that I can't do anything with. Like,
Or the unlimited pistol, or whatever.
yeah, he has an
kind of
unlimited
pistol.
pistol. He has a knife that shape changes. You know, he's chosen by the mimes, and I'm like, dude, I can breathe.
You have the sigil of the lake.
Yeah.
And maybe
the
we should jump
ring.
over to Daisy here because you don't have either of these like beautiful
Yeah. What
things,
good are you?
but you do have something. Um,
Mad sniper
and
skills.
I haven't had the opportunity to use it too much yet. But your character sees a lot more than everybody else.
Blood
Bloody
font.
font, for example.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
I
she
haven't
sees the
been
same
down.
thing as us. It's just bloody, which
Well,
is
that's
weird.
different.
Yeah.
I'd say more because she didn't need to have that introduction.
Also true. Yeah, that is
I didn't
weird.
need to do drugs.
Yeah.
Special.
I tried to like question that. I was like, why? And
Mhm.
no, like, obviously no one has any answers, so it's kind of
Yeah, well,
pointless.
nobody. Yeah, why would you know?
I guess that's part of the troublesome. It's like I can ask all the questions all day, but
People are lying to you.
yeah, no one has any
People are
answers.
evading the question. Sometimes they tell you the truth, and when they tell you the truth, maybe it's so absurd that it's hard to say, like, yeah, that's actually a real answer. Was Craig Hall there, or was it just somebody that's been like fictionalized? Was he accurate? He spent a lot of time talking about thumbprint, and then he said blue coat guy was there, and then didn't say much more about Craig Hall. If Craig Hall was there, wouldn't he have had a few more lines? That guy was annoying as shit.
Yeah, just kind of mentioned him one time, but then he mainly talked about the blue coat guy. The blue coat guy was the guy who gave him the children, gave him the powers.
And the thumbprint was there.
No, thumbprint gave him the powers.
Okay, looking at my notes. First, he opened with "Strange little man gave him offered the family." then he said it's a fancy degree starting with a D, and then he had the thumbprint dude, and then afterwards, I think in the next conversation is when he mentioned the man in the blue coat.
Yeah,
So
I think I remember him saying blue coat guy gave him the family, and like later in the conversation, and that the
yeah,
thumbprint guy gave him the sigil.
yeah, because later he said man in blue coat responsible for giving the creatures to them. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
What did
just
Craig
changing
Hall do?
stories.
Yeah, why does this guy hate Craig Hall enough to try and lie about him being involved?
He wasn't lying. He was there. He was the contact. Maybe got them all in contact with each other. I don't know anything.
Yeah, that guy was a shitty storyteller. But I mean, he's a redneck dude out in the hills. So that's what I'm working with the logic wise. Trying to lie to you, trying not to refer to his children too much so that you might spare them. You spared two of them though.
Yep.
I think it's because you gave them names.
Not for me.
Kinda-
God, what a dick.
I got
I'm
emotional.
just such a dick.
They have
That's such a dick
names.
move. The
Trying to think.
cornflakes.
The cornflakes one had me like almost crying. He was like, "Oh, there's one eating cornflakes," and then he's like, "Okay, I shoot it."
I shoot it.
It's like,
Wow.
The name thing, nothing really affected. The only thing that stopped me from shooting all of them was I think I got swarmed by 3.
And he said they're not violent.
No, what stopped me was we ended the session. We came back the next week, started up the most recent session, and it started off with us all just talking to each other. And in between sessions, we decided that I need to be more of a persuasion guy, not just shoot 'em guy. So we came back and it was like, okay, be more a persuasion guy. I guess I'll start by not shooting them.
Well, you had shot a few of them though. Already, I mean,
Right, that's what I'm
before
saying.
that change.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
you'd
came
been
back and I
swarmed,
was
you
like,
shot
okay, I
them,
need
and then you
to,
came back. Yeah.
yeah, I need to start by not shooting anymore. So that's the only thing that stopped me was, okay, I got to figure out a different way to go about this. And I think another thing that stopped, when I shot him and he's invulnerable, I was like, okay, shooting is not helping because I threw, it happened with Craig Cole, it happened with this guy. Guns aren't gonna do it. Like, I felt so safe having firearms against these monsters, but I'm feeling less and less safe.
And you're assuming that these shields are infinite, so to speak.
Untested.
big assumption.
Yeah, you could hold Craig Hall down and be like, "How long is your shield gonna last? How many eggs can you take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5."
I don't have time
Start
to,
pounding them with eggs.
And I mean,
But
if you think about, I mean, say, the devil comes in and I'm like, bam, and it doesn't do anything. Am I just gonna be like, just stand right there? I'm just gonna keep shooting you. No, he would just, and I'm dead. And I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't piss you off.
But that's why I bring up he didn't like do a big man move where he's like, gonna mess with me. I can't even be hurt by bullets. He didn't do that afterwards.
Which is almost maybe more terrifying because
But he
that's what I'm
did
saying.
walk out fine. Or there was
Yeah,
no
well,
like
you guys didn't
anything
shoot
about
him
him.
in the mouth with a shotgun, but he wasn't stopping you from killing his children. He wasn't being aggressive. He was being bitter, perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, bitter Billy,
I
but
mean, maybe his only superpower is he won't die, but that's why, like, when I think Verde was threatening him and he was like, do it. And then he turned the gun on whatever the other one's name was.
Damon.
Yeah. He was like, no. Put the gun on me. And I was like, putting the gun on him doesn't do anything. Putting the gun on Damon does. I agreed with Verde.
Yeah, this entire adventure, and I'd like to mention this more when Fred's here, is so. It's weirdly simple when I wrote it initially, and it has become so infinitely more complex with you guys interacting with it and getting tangled up in the web. And I don't know. I think it'll be better for the epilogue when Fred is here. after we do more with this, because I did feel like I left it on a bit of like the climactic action moment. Like you guys had solved the situation without anybody getting swarmed and cut up and dragged down to the basement. That would have been bad. Somebody being like, hey, it's Dr. Iris here. King, you in? We kind of heard that you went out here like a rogue wild card." Walking down the basement and seeing the guy trying to shove him in like
If
the
I had gone there by
monster's mouth.
myself,
Yeah.
yeah.
It would have been a bad time if I had to like, "Dr. Iris, please just go and save him." And where you go down there and it's like, "Oh, his head's in the monster's mouth." Like that kind of situation. So I'm glad you guys handled it as it was. But
The one part that actually did get to me was when the dude was like, "Save what's her fuck? She's over there. I think she went unconscious. I can't hear her anymore." And I was just like, "Oh no."
oh, Jennifer.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that sucks." So I was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
Iris, you should go deal with that."
but I hate myself so much for that. But that was one of those moments where
That was a dark moment. I was like, "Oh,
I had to write that in as like that's the darkest I can go with like the psychology of somebody who held captive to be sacrificed to
that
a
was me
monster.
and she hasn't gotten to this point, but that was me with Atlas, frozen in stone, holding the kid behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah, your statue one. I didn't get to see that.
No,
But
yeah,
yeah, I
that
heard
wasn't
about
your
that.
episode, but yeah, that was a
Ugh.
dark moment where they're putting together all the pieces and they're like, "Oh no." Basically, you'll come across it. There's a statue of a man, and there's a pile of children's bones behind him, where he like some of them are still in his hand. Basically, he was holding onto a kid, and then he was turned to stone, and the kid was stuck in the stone statue, and died there.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was.
I remember the talking about it.
That
That was a good end of the table.
one of my dark moments. Even I was like, "Damn, I feel kind of bad doing this."
Yeah, I mean, we all feel bad as storytellers when we abuse our extras, but that's what they're there for. Um,
They're not real
and,
people. It's okay. Creative writing.
and then that's why I wanted you guys to at least save somebody who has some fucking money. Because what do you guys not have? Is that a sentence?
Vehicle.
Money.
Oh,
Stable jobs.
girlfriend.
Money.
Oh.
That's the answer still. All the other things might be valid. But so I wanted to have a character at some point that might offer you guys the opportunity to have funding, an HQ, and perhaps like a situation to go off of. And so that's part of the epilogue is like Eddie Newsom's fucking pissed. And he's heard enough from his time being a captive that he knows something's going on, and he wants the kickest ass people that could ever kick butts to help him out.
He should go find a
Celebrity radio host,
Prodigy,
a wild felon,
who are the other ones?
and a detective.
I can't remember the names. Prodigy. I think Rox had some weird fucking name.
No. Oh, no. You're talking about the rabbit people. No. They're
No, I'm talking about our characters. Prodigy, the guy who could blow shit up with his mind, and Chick. This is Super Soldier. Played by Joy.
Yeah, played by Joy. No, what you're talking about is
You said get the most kick-ass, baddest people you know. Those would be the ones.
they were pretty kick-ass.
Except
but what
they were
they
villains,
are,
so.
yeah, they were the villains of that campaign.
Yeah.
So what I had was that obviously the players having magical rings, some of them having like mind control and stuff like that, weird magical powers. There is a military mercenary faction of people who wear these specialized rabbit masks that make it so they can ignore a lot of
Yeah, they were the rabbit people. You're right. My bad.
a lot of your magic effects, while also being able to practice their own. So there's a lot of like psychic armor with a little bit of like head armor as well.
Basically, we
and
played super villain. We were the super soldiers, but we were evil villains.
my best one shot was just being like, fuck
good.
it. You guys can be the dipshit villains that are going to come kill you guys later, maybe.
It turned out really well.
Yeah, they loved it. It's just go to a house, kill this kid.
I think
they love killing kids.
Okay, we enjoyed that. I think that one shot turned out better than the actual campaign, unfortunately.
Who was that kid though?
I don't know.
The girl in the purple coat?
Is that who that was? I'm trying to even
Yeah.
remember.
Huh. Was.
It's all connected.
But that's that's because I just have a meticulous mind for stupid colors. But yeah, no, it was sort of weird to have like a one shot like specialized hitman adventure just be better than the entire campaign
Turned out really well.
because I couldn't
Sometimes,
finish
yeah,
the
you
campaign.
can't. Well, that was also players one dropped out and others weren't working together very well, and
Yeah,
that happens. I will say the Island Massacre is a scene that will stay with me. That was well written, very impactful.
very messed up.
Yeah, but I think it did well. You know, it served its purpose. I mean, this is not an under the table for that campaign, but one of those moments where it's like, I have a terrible memory, so I don't know how long it will stay with me, but one of those ones where like, dude, remember that campaign that kicked off at the Island Massacre? That one is fucking crazy.
People sacrificing people to gods.
Yep.
It's like just a classic story of humanity. Oh, that's actually terrible timing. I don't. Can we
Actually
edit
true.
that out?
And on that note, we're gonna wrap up Under the Table. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a behind the scenes look at Adventure 3 Episode 9 of well, not Under the Table, of Strange Town Golden Ridge. Huge shout out to, what are you doing?
I was leaning, like, I was just like drifting off screen. I was like,
Oh, it looked like you were like doing like a Dana White of the forest. It was like the not okay. Huge shout out to Daisy, voice of Iris, and Mr. Pickles, storyteller for the game there, and myself, voice of Kingsman. What's it called when they're like a runner up or something? Like honorable mention to Fred, the voice of Fred.
Yes. He was there. He's a detective, but he's too tired to join us tonight.
Yeah, he's sick. So well wishes go out to Fred. Make sure that he gets better. That's it from us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. More episodes of Strange Town Golden Ridge are actually going to be continuing with just kind of some bonus content. Huge thanks to, I don't know if that was Daisy who originally pushed that idea. No, I think it was Pickles who originally was like, you guys want some bonus content?
I can't be held responsible for the words I say, so I can't take credit for it either.
I think it was him.
All right. So yeah, those episodes are going to be continuing, so keep an eye out for those. You guys can watch the entire series from Adventure 2 all the way through Adventure 3. Adventure 1 is gone, lost to time, but there's recaps in there, so watch Adventure 2 and Adventure 3 all the way through. It's all on the YouTube channel. So if you guys like this video, leave a like. If you guys want to comment, we can address all your guys' comments, questions, concerns in the next video of Under the Table. And if you guys want to see more, subscribe. Put out daily videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one. Later.
I love you.
Say your line, Daisy.
I said bye.
Oh, I didn't even hear you.
It didn't pick up on the.
Oh, yeah.
But also, Wrath's line is "Say your line, Daisy."
That's my outro now. Say your line, Daisy.
That's his outro, and you have, regardless of whether you like made it, you have to say it again.
Yeah, you'll have to just say it again. That's bye. Do it. So your line, Daisy. There you go. Perfect. She did it.
I love you.
Talked over it.
Sorry.
You too, Pickles. Okay. Bye, everyone.
I got confused. You said I heard "say the line," and I was like, "I don't know."
It's just